Hello everyone. So today we are going to finally implement this key change in ability customizing controls. So here, for example, if I press W and instead of W, if let's say I want to use Q, so we can assign Q for the move forward, and for the move backward, instead of a S, let's say I want to use a space, but we are already using space for jumping. Oh no, we are using left hold. So yeah, if I want to use left hold for the jumping, now you see left hold is assigned for the move backward and jump is shown as none. And if I try to apply, you can see this none is blinking. So we can't apply without assigning a valid key here. So here I'll press this again and assign a space and change this back to S. If I apply and go back and go to the game, you don't see my keyboard, but I am moving forward with Q because I have used Q for move forward. Space I changed from left hold to space for jumping. So the system is working, and let's see how to do this in this episode. And this episode is sponsored by these generous patrons. Thank you very much for the support. Okay, so last time we implemented the controls UI part, so today let's look into how to customize these. Right, let me open controls widget and also the key widget, this one. Okay, when I initialize these controls, I think it would be better if we keep a reference to that particular key inside the key widget instead of just keeping only the label, because later on we can use it to compare, like when we try to change the keys to check if we already have assigned that key to something else. Right, now when I initialize, I'll add, no, let's change this key label into key and change this into the type of key. And here get display name and use it. Now we have to, we don't need to return the display name also. Let's delete this. Right, now here okay. Now on this button, when we click, we should have a way to change the text, this text that appear over here, to like press desired key, so that when we press the key we want, it will be assigned as the control key for this particular controller. So how do we implement it? Right, so here let's go to the graph and add a dispatcher. Well, here we don't have any value change. This is because I duplicated some other key, so let me delete this, and let's add a new event dispatcher on clicked. So when I click on this button is btn preview value, but I'll change the name to btn key selector. Okay, and on the on click event, let's call on clicked. Also, we need to change the key label to something like press desired key. Oh wait, set text press desired key. Right, shall we check this quickly? See, okay, now the next part is when I press the key we need, it should be changed into that. So how to implement that part? Okay, so in the widget controls, let's create another event, change key or select key. As an input, I think we need here which button it pressed, so that means this this type widget key object reference. WDG key object reference. I'll call this WDG key. Okay, and this yeah, now this input should match if I am to bind this event to this on clicked dispatcher. That input should match. So here also I'll add an input in the type WDG key. I'll call it WDG key, and here as the input I'll give a reference to the self. Okay, now here when we create the key mapping, let's bind event on clicked as the event. Let's use the select key event like this. I think we would need place to hold references for all these widget keys. So let's add another variable, WDG keys. In the type of WDG key, object references, and it should be a array. Here initially I'll clear this. I'm not sure if this part is called twice, we don't need previous references, right? And let's add this newly created key into this array. Right. Now here we need to assign whatever the key we press next. But how do we do that? First, let's update this, promote this to a parameter, key to be changed. And in order to detect new key presses, actually we can't have any key press events here, not in the game instance as well. Yeah, so but we can catch key presses in player controller. Oh yeah, actually we haven't used a custom player controller, but let's create one. Let's call it player controller code like me. I'll keep the options as default, and let's assign that code like me controller here. Let's see if everything works as before. Yeah, okay. Now here we need another interface to communicate with the player controller. Let's create one. PPI player controller. Here I'll add a new function. Let's call register key, or rather register key change. And as the input, I will give in the type of WDG controls control. I'll name this as the same as WDG controls. So in the player controller, let's implement PPI player controller, and let's implement this event, and I'll promote this to a variable WDG control. Right, now we can have key press or any key event, this one. So here, if I have a valid WDG control, and now in the WDG controls, I define a new function, custom event on any key. as the input I'll define key, just a key. Let's call it pressed key. Now from the player controller, on any key, let's call it on the WDG control as the input with this key. Right. Okay, now here also when we call widget select key, I'm gonna get player controller register key change, and as the WDG control we can give a reference to self like this. Now when we get this event called, we should check this key to be changed. If we have a valid key to be changed, let's call it, let's first check if it is valid. Right, if yes, we need to init key. Well, actually here we don't really need the need to change the control label. So here I define another event to only change the display name and the key. So custom event override key. As input we need a key. Let's call it new key. Here let's promote this key to a variable. Let's call it key. And new key, I'll set the new key as the key, and key label set text with the display name of the key. Simple. Right, shall we check if this flow works? I'm going to press H. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Okay. Oh wait, here we still didn't call override key yet. Let's pray J. Nothing happened. Well, I just added this print string just to check if we get in this code. So actually the reason should be here the input mode is UI only, so we need to change input mode to game only. here, and let's see if this get called. Yeah, it is working there, but the problem is the game input works there, so that's a problem. So what can we do to prevent that? Oh, we can get player character, and no, not the player character. We can just, we already have the reference to player control. Let's call unpossess. Okay, and also when we press any of the keys, we should change this back to, no, I don't need this print. We should change the input mode back to UI. Mode UI only. Player controller, get player controller, local base, and show mouse cursor. Oh, set show mouse cursor to true. Oh wait, no, I should not do that here, because this could be called even when I am not in oh wait, this part also should not be done here, because this will be called even in a normal situation as well. Right, this also, I'll move that part back to here, unpossess. Wait, rather than calling unpossess, we could call disable input on the player character, so that we wouldn't have the trouble of later finding out the character and possessing again. This should be simpler. Okay, I'll put the game mode input mode part also in here. Right, now when we are back here, I'll again set input mode to UI only, and on the player character, enable input. Better to have another reference here. It looks clean. Okay, now let's check. See, swimming, if I press up arrow, it changes to up, but apply back, those things are not working yet. Right, one more special thing. If I don't, if I keep this consume input enabled for this any key event, any of the other inputs will not work when I am using this player controller. So that's why I was not able to move before. Now I can move even with this, even if I am using this custom player controller, right? So key changing part does work. Oh wait, why does character keep moving here? I guess we need to have a delay here. Otherwise, if I try to press a movement input, it applied to the player, and it does. It still happens now. Okay, the delay doesn't fix it. Right, so what we can do is, we don't need to enable input, we only need to enable input when we play or continue the game. So we can do it here. In the start game. Hard survivor. Get player controller. Get player character. Enable input. Controller. Right. Now we shouldn't have that problem. Let's test. Right, even if I press a movement button here, character is not moving, and if I go to here and continue, oh wait, right, the problem is not with that, the problem is I think we are not consuming the input here. No, that cannot be. Right, so once we get this any key, I keep the consume input or disabled. Let's invalidate this WDG control. Set WDG control. So that should prevent that continuously applying the, or rather not getting the key up event related bug. So if I show you again here, go to control, I'm gonna press D here, go back, go to game, continue, the movements work as usual. Alright, and we have one more problem here. The problem is this. If I go to the controls, you can see these buttons. If I go back and go to controls again, or let's go back, settings, controls, you can see these are doubled. So to prevent that, what I have to do is, here when we initialize, we have to first, if we have any of the, before clearing, we need to go through all of these existing items, and can we destroy them? No, remove from parent. Okay, Now that issue should be fixed. Let's see. Control, okay, we can see. Let's go back and go again. Control, right, now they are not duplicated. Alright, now the next challenge is how to actually change the input. Here we only just change what we see as the input key in the UI level. We are not actually changing the input key binding. So how do we do it? Right, well, to do that we need to know the control name of this particular input. So I think when we initialize this WDG key, not just the key, we also need to keep, instead of just getting the control label, let's get control config structure. Let's call it control data, and from here we can break this and get the control label. What's the error here? Oh, okay. Now here we have to give the full control configuration. Right. Okay, now we know which control is we have represented with that widget key that we are trying to change. Okay, now we need to do one more thing here. When we change a key, if we have already used this key for any other control, we have to invalidate that control too. So in order to do that, let's get the controls, sorry, not the controls, keys, and run a for each loop. Let me collapse this as check conflicts. Here, from this widget element we can access the key. Oh, also we need to make sure that this key that we are comparing is not equal to the key that we want to change at the moment. So only if this condition is true, then we can get the key. And we can compare it with the key we get through here, pressed key. If this is equal, that means we have a conflict. so we have to change it something like not assigned. So to do that, get the array element, override key, as the new key. Can we give none? Yeah, let's give none and see what happens. Right, now I'm going to change W. So here we have already used spacebar, so instead of W, if I press spacebar, now you see this is changed to spacebar and the jump is changed to none. So yeah, that's the contradiction, that's the conflict. So okay, conflict is detected. Now here if key equals to none, let's promote this to a variable not assigned. Let's make this true. And also let's change the key label color. To red. Oh, both changed to red. Why is that? Sorry. Here only if this is true. We should change the color. Otherwise we can keep the normal color, which is so actually we don't need a branch here, we can do a selection based on this. If it's not selected or none, it should be red, otherwise it should be white. Okay, and also I think it would be better if when I click on this, if when press desired keys displaying, let's change it to yellow, so it makes things more clear. See, it's more clear now. Okay, and next part is applying the controls, applying the changes. So right, for that here. First we need to check if we have any conflicts. So let's get the keys, run a for each loop, with break. For any of the elements, if not assigned is true, let's add another variable has conflicts. This should be a boolean variable, by default false. Here let's make it true. Initially we need to make sure has conflicts is false, otherwise if it becomes true once, it will be always true. And break. When it is completed, if we have conflicts, we should not be able to apply. So we should get a requester saying fix all conflicts or something. Actually not a pop-up. Maybe we can blink this key. But how to make it blink? We can have an animation. So select the key selector, the color, let's add a key here, and here let's make alpha 0, add the key here again, and 1 again, add a key, okay, it blinks twice, right. Let's keep only the alpha value. No, let's check how this works. So first let's create another custom event, blink key. Okay, here we have the animation. Play animation. Right now here in the widget controls, let's call blink key here. Let's see how it looks now. Let's make a space, and if I try to apply, see, oh, S blinks. Why does S blink? How come not the sign became true for S? Oh, it is by default true. It should be false by default. Right, now let's check again. Let's make a conflict. This time I'll press E. So now the interact key is none. If I press apply, you can see this is blinking. Okay, so it gives us a notification to change it. So let's select it and change it back to E. Now this is conflicted, so let's change it back to W. Now nothing is blinking, so we can apply. But how to implement apply? Again, we can get widget keys and run a for each loop. Only if we don't have conflicts. From here we can get we have key selector, option name. Wait, we should have this. Oh, control data. Let's promote this to a variable. Control data, right. Get control data, split this. Also we can get key, now input settings. From the input settings, let's remove oh, how do we know if this is axis or action? Yeah, based on this, if the scale is 0, that means it is a action. Here only the axis have a scale. Oh wait, no, where does show objective have 1? Interact has 1. Right, then let's add we can do this. Wait, from the input settings we can try to get axis mapping by name using this name, and if the length is larger than 0, that means this is an axis. Let's collapse this to a function is axis. Let's make it PU. Where's the return? Okay, let's have a branch, and if this is an axis, we can again use get input settings, remove axis mapping that we already have with this, oh wait, key mapping. Oh no, we can get the existing axis mapping this way, get axis mapping, sorry, we need to remove all existing mappings, so we can run a for each loop here, and remove this all these key mappings, and once it is completed, we can again add axis mapping with this given name, we can split this. Key axis name is this one, scale is this one, and the key is this one. Right, now similarly, if this is an action, we can get input settings again, get action mappings by name as the name, we can use the same name here, and here also we can run a for each loop, remove action mapping, for the actions with this name, for these action mappings, then when it is completed, we can call add action mapping with the new key mapping. Name is this. Key is get key, and I don't have any of these options, so I'm going to leave them false. Right, I think that's it. Oh wait, here we have a little problem. When we try to remove axis mapping, here we need to check if the scale also. Let's split. Oh, break here. Yeah, because for the same axis move forward, we have W with scale 1 and S with scale -1. So we can't just remove all the key bindings with the axis value move forward. So we have to consider that situation. So here we should only remove if the scales are matching. If the scale is equal to the scale we have here, then only we should remove it. Right, now test this. Let's go to controls, and here instead of W I'll use Q and apply. Go back, game, continue. So when I press W nothing happens, but if I press Q, character moves forward. Okay, let's select another option. So here I'll change this back to W, and instead of jumping is for space bar, I'll use left alt. Apply, go back, game, continue. Now space doesn't jump, but alt jumps. Okay, so the system is working, and the only thing left here for us to implement is the requesters and reset, and we will look into those things in a future episode. And thanks for watching. So project files will be available for the download through Patreon page. Link would be in the description below. And if you like to support my work, you can get the membership of the Patreon club. So thanks again for watching. See you in another episode. Goodbye.